Still bad at making intros, but that doesn't matter because today I have a big video here where I'm going to talk about the final 3 episodes of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3, Part 1 of the Cooling Games. This season has been a masterclass of an adaptation, and to me, this is what an adaptation should be. It should be able to enhance the original work of Gege's, and I think Goso and everybody else that worked on Season 3 did just that. And this season just reminded me why this series is in my top 5 when it comes to anime and manga. But enough of the let's just hop right into it. Reggie is still talking about the bomb that is possibly going to be dropped by Kenjaku, and that's the reason why he's over here trying to gather strong allies. Megumi rebuttals that question and asks, well, why do you have this woman here? Because I doubt she's even strong to begin with. Her only purpose, to be honest, is to just lure people in. She's kind of like that OnlyFans model that has a link in their bio, and then you click on that link and that link doesn't give you what you came there for, so it's just basically a scam. Megumi just tells Reggie to hand over all his points, and obviously Reggie ain't down for all that. Everything kicks off with a random trying to sneak up on Megumi. Megumi dips into the shadows, picks him up, throws him over the balcony. Megumi, being irritated, looks back at Remy and tells her to get the hell up out of there. But before she can even get out of there, there's an eyeball that drops from the sky and explodes. And this is the guy that did that. He's Hazanoki, and his technique is basically, well, I can just take a piece of my body and make it explode. Megumi is getting jumped right now, and Remy made the business decision to help jump him. And after the second explosion, Megumi still decides to save her, and then she still attacks him.
Yo, oh my god. Miss, can you help us? Help! Stop yelling at me! Help!
Like, look at her. Ugh. And then she's like, oh my god, just say it, please. Say that she'll protect me because, you know, Reggie and all of them said that. And Megumi ain't really messing with all that. You know that. Megumi sees the new rule that was added by Higuruma and he starts throwing hands. And so he's in his room. He calls upon the Shikigami. He even calls upon this elephant, and this guy gets hit with some elephant butt. Megumi then jumps out the window and then lands on top of this guy while they're falling and starts smashing his face in. And then he kills him. This is where Potential Man starts to tweak out a little bit because he's thinking to himself like, wait, let me calm down. Megumi's weighing all his options, and he's even considering popping his domain. He's afraid that if he does that, they might just run away and just waste his domain completely. Hazanoki then spits some teeth at him, but then the most funny guy shows up, and that is Takaba. Everyone is just confused at this situation besides Takaba, and at this point, Takaba has just deluded himself into being funny, so much so that he decided to tell a joke about Wi-Fi, and it was so bad that the animators actually left the studio. Since nobody laughed, Takaba just decided to do a flying drop kick and take Hazanoki out, and everyone's surprised like, wait, he's actually like kind of strong. Takaba pretty much forced Megumi to team up with him, and so he's gonna go deal with Hazanoki while Megumi goes after Reggie. Megumi is chasing after Reggie, and Reggie is moving. He is moving so much so that he's jumping over cable lines like he's an Olympic athlete. He then falls into the tree, and then he calls upon a cane and then hangs off the tree. Reggie continues to run, and he just keeps on spawning random stuff. Reggie lands in this church, and he knows that Megumi figured out his technique. Now his technique is about receipts. So the thing that he's wearing, all of that is just receipts. So he can just call upon those receipts, and whatever is on them, he can just spawn it in. So for example, let's say the atomic bomb, because the receipt for that actually exists. So if somehow, some way, Reggie was to obtain such a receipt, he could actually call upon an atomic bomb. That would be his Maharaga if it came down to it. And he also explains that like he can have like a worse version of RCT where if he went to a spa and he spent 2 days in the spa and he has a receipt for that, he can just use that and he'd be fresh as new. Reggie knows that Megumi is exhausted from earlier, especially when he had to keep using the Shikigami. He then says to Megumi, hey, this is going to be a battle of attrition and we can't use big moves. So both of them know that they can't actually kill each other. So Megumi makes a business decision and just leaves. Reggie, he just spawns in a moped and some drones and starts chasing after him. And so he finds out that Megumi's in a gym and he knows that, all right, is this going to be a trap or not a trap? And brother, you know that he's in there and you know that he's planning something. Megumi is skeptical about Reggie because he knows that Reggie planned something ahead. And of course he did. He had 2 trucks come through the wall and start going after Megumi. Somehow, some way though, Megumi dodges these trucks. All those isekai main characters that got hit by a truck and died and went to the new world, honestly, you need to learn from Megumi. This is how you get away from those trucks. Reggie continues to attack Megumi, and Megumi gets back up and starts talking about barrier techniques, reality, artificial space, and Reggie had to stop himself and he was like, wait, why did he start talking about all this stuff? And then it clicks. He's like, no, he can do that. He can actually pop ult, and Megumi starts popping ult as soon as he starts thinking it, and oh my god, it is so good. Reggie realizes that he may have made a mistake to continue fighting Megumi, and Megumi's like, hey, I know I'm potential, man. I may even be a fraud in some people's eyes, but I never said I didn't have a big move. Before we keep going, I gotta tell y'all something. I gotta get this off my chest. I know nothing about Reggie versus Megumi, and I barely remember the stuff that happened in Sendai Colony. And that's because back in 2023, the peak of Jujutsu Kaisen's popularity, leaks. When leaks were coming out, it was so hard to avoid spoilers. It got to a point where when I was reading JJK, I had to speed run a lot of that stuff so I can catch up to the manga, so I can catch up to what was coming out, because as I was reading it, leaks were coming out. So I ended up reading both at the same time. I ended up catching up to the stuff, but then I also ended up reading the leaks as well. And I just don't remember anything, especially in Sendai Colony. The only thing I remember was the 3-way domain expansion. Reggie uses Hollow Wicker Basket, which is kind of a predecessor to Simple Domain. Now, the narrator is talking to us about the history of Hollow Wicker Basket and Simple Domain, and talking to us on how it works and all that extra stuff. And don't get me wrong, I love good narrator. I love Hunter x Hunter for that reason. But when you are over here trying to talk to me while I'm seeing some of the best animation, some of the best fight scenes, stuff that I can't even process at what's going on, and you're trying to explain to me this stuff, it just reminds me of that RDC meme. The technique didn't work at all, and that's because it's meant to stop a guaranteed hit effect. But in Megumi's domain, he doesn't have a guaranteed hit effect because the domain is incomplete. So he's just getting pieced up by, you know, Megumi's clones and whatnot. And also, this domain expansion also kind of extends Megumi's 10 Shadows technique, and it also gives him 120% of his potential. Reggie's getting pieced up, and he's worried that Megumi is going to pull out Max Elephant, and once he does, well, it's going to be kind of cooked because now his receipts will be wet and he can't use them when they're wet. But luckily enough, he has a little bit of an idea. That idea is to drop 3 cards into Megumi's shadows, which when that happens, it's just basically putting a ton of weight into his shadows, and it kind of just makes it hard for Megumi to move. There's one thing that Reggie doesn't know about Megumi, and he doesn't know that Megumi is the son of one of the craziest tweakers out there, Toji Fushiguro. Toji Zenin, the man that left it all behind, the same man that was actually able to kill Gojo. Megumi embraces the tweak out and says that a domain is still a domain, and he still has something to address.
There's still something you need to address!
Look at him, looking just like his dad. Megumi is dealing with 40 G's of G-force right now, while Reggie's basically carrying a whole ass elephant on his back. Megumi being psychotic has basically put them in this game of who the hell is gonna get crushed first. Like I said before, I never actually read this fight, so a lot of the stuff I'm seeing is like completely new to me. So watching Megumi just kind of tweak out like this is really entertaining. We've seen Megumi tweak out like this in the past before, especially when he's about to release Maharaga, but like actually tweak out and really be himself, we hadn't seen that since the last time he used his domain. And so it kind of makes me wonder, like, why is he like this? Like, there's this side of Megumi that's really dark, and we kind of know that, especially when he is the son of Toji. It's a really weird side of him where it only comes out when he uses his domain. Reggie is completely concerned right now because he knows damn well if he continues to hold this elephant up, his Achilles will snap and he'll be cooked. Because if he falls into Megumi's shadow, well, he doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know if he's going to be able to breathe down there. He doesn't know if he's going to stay in his shadow even after he dies. So he has one last plan, his trump card. And as he's about to use his trump card, it snaps. So he's fallen into Megumi's shadows, wondering, damn, is it really over for me? Am I dead? Now Megumi's thinking to himself also, how am I gonna be able to know he's dead or not? Do I just release my domain? Do I just wait till he's dead? And there's a card that's coming up, and that's Reggie's card that he had recently put down in Megumi's shadow. He goes on to say that, oh, I completely forgot that if I just don't give my things a command, they don't disappear. And he never gave those cards a command. And guess what? He's alive. So in this tweak out competition, it is now Reggie's turn, and Reggie finally uses his trump card, and it is a whole house. Hey, both these guys are insane, but I ain't gonna lie, if I was Reggie, I would have been looking for that receipt for the atomic bomb, because that would have been a way better trump card than this, because hey, there's no way I'm about to lose like this. If I'm gonna lose, we both losing. Shit, the whole people around us is losing. As the house is coming down onto Megumi, it cuts over to Reggie drowning in actual water. After climbing out of the pool, Reggie's at a complete disadvantage now because all of his receipts are wet, but he also knows that Megumi can't use that demon dog that he used earlier because he took it down. So they start walking close to each other, eyeing each other up, and boy, the hands that were being swapped in this sequence was immaculate. Brother, I don't care if y'all over here saying that, oh, they rotoscoped this, they used a lot of rotoscoping. I don't care. It looks good. It looks fantastic. Why are we complaining? While they're swapping hands, Reggie gets snuck up on by Demon Dog. Megumi actually was still able to use Demon Dog because, again, a couple of knives wasn't going to to actually take it down, it needed to be something a lot more stronger than that. But Reggie thought so. And so when he saw that Megumi pulled it out, he ended up saying that, well, all sorcerers are liars. And he said that earlier in the last episode, talking about how all sorcerers are liars. And it kind of makes a lot of sense because a lot of characters in this series lie, and it's like a frequent theme throughout the series that they do just lie. And it also goes back to what Megumi said, talking about, hey, we're not heroes, we're Jujutsu sorcerers. A lot of characters lie. Yuta does it, Gojo does it, Sukuna definitely does it. The only person that doesn't really do it is Yuji, and that kind of makes him an outlier in this story and kind of makes him very interesting in how he interacts with a lot of the Jujutsu stuff, because again, he's just not that person. And you could also say the same thing for Yuta, but just in a completely different aspect, which I'll probably talk about later. Reggie's dying in a pool of blood, but Megumi just walks up to him and starts questioning him about his relationship with Kenjaku, and obviously they're not close at all. Reggie gives the rest of his points to Megumi, and Megumi's confused by it, and the only reason why he did that was just for one more good deed before he dies. We cut back over to Honeki still trying to kill Takaba, and Takaba is just over here rage baiting him this entire time. And then Honeki finds out that Reggie died, and so he's like, you know what, I'm gonna rage quit and just go back home. Takaba is still trying to get him to run him his points, but then we end up getting a narration about Takaba's technique. Now this technique and how it works is basically if Takaba finds something funny, it comes to life, it comes to reality. So it's a reality manipulator technique. He can manipulate reality, and so the narrator is like, hey, this is a technique that could even oppose Gojo. So as long as he finds it funny, it can happen. So theoretically, he can beat Gojo by being like, oh, I would find it funny if I could bypass your affinity and just one-shot you. It could happen. Will it happen? Probably not. Because later on in the manga, we actually figure out the weaknesses of this technique. And so I feel like someone like Gojo, who is pretty smart, would understand how this works. I think he would get cooked by it at first, the same way that another person does, but I think overall, he would probably still end up beating Takaba. But it is a technique that under the right hands could be really broken. Oh, we see Remy running away from Megumi. Megumi, finish the job. Come on, just do it. Finish it. Think about all the things that she's done. Megumi, what are you doing? Kill her. No, come back. No, come back. After letting Remy go, he ends up passing out in an alleyway, but then someone appears and saves him, and that is Angel. And we're finally here. We cut over to Sendai Colony, one of the most chaotic colonies in the entire games. We see Druve, who has 91 points and has conquered an archipelago, which is kind of a definition of what a special grade is. Someone that has the ability to conquer a whole nation. We see the canon Jane Juliet with 77 points, and he has the highest curse energy output of all the players in the games. We see Uru, who has 70 points, and she was the leader of the Sun, Moon, Star squad of the Fujiwara clan. A lot of lore for her, but her technique, she can manipulate the sky. And then we cut over to Kururushi, who is just a cockroach. He is a cockroach cursed spirit. He is ugly as hell. Anytime that I see them in real life, I just despise them. Like, I want their existence to never exist. Now, all of these characters are in a deadlock, and that's because all of these characters counter each other. Now, I'll talk about that later. Now, all of these characters are special grade, but in my opinion, I consider them semi-special grade. And the only reason why I think that is because when we see other characters in the future that are actually special grade level and we see them fight, there's a difference. But one of them actually ends up dying, and that's Druve, and is by none other than Yuta himself walking in Aura farming. And the way that they did his entrance though, it's just so good. They really did the man who is second to Gojo in unusual abilities so well. Not only that, we're about to witness one of the best episodes in all of anime. We see Yuta thinking about the people and how they've experienced all the pain and suffering from Shibuya, and how he's probably going to add more than just one rule to help all those, people out. And he thinks about Gojo and how he's not going to allow Gojo to kill his best friend a second time, so he alone will attain those 400 points. Then we see Yuta trying to help a group of people out, and then in the distance we hear some people screaming, and it's Kuroshi's cockroaches chasing these two guys. Now Yuta, being the good guy he is going to save him. Me personally, if I saw that many cockroaches, no matter how strong I am, I'm just gonna have to let that be. I'm sorry, there's no saving them. After those two people died, Yuta then blasts away the swarm of cockroaches with his cursed energy. He then asks Kogane if that's a player or not, and yes, that big ass cockroach is a player. They start squabbling a little bit, but Yuta knows how to defeat a cursed spirit, and that's with positive energy, basically reverse curse technique. But he doesn't want to use it because he knows the two other players are watching him. Kurorushi's just doing this for the taste of iron, and I really do like the fact that he has an anime upscale, because he wasn't doing none of this in the manga, and I do feel like if you're a special grade anything, you should show why you're special grade. Yuta starts moving like he has ODM gear all of a sudden, and he starts just blasting away all of Kurorushi's swarms with just cursed energy, mind you. He's in a bit of a predicament punishment though, because Kuroshi's cooking him, and he's kind of come to that realization that Kuroshi's too strong for me to not use RCT. So he decided to give Kuroshi a big passionate kiss, and this scene lasted for too long. Like, brother, please move on. After dealing with Kuroshi and wiping off that cockroach juice off his mouth, Uru appears and finds out that he can use RCT and blast him away. Yuta tries to fight back, but Uru's powers basically makes Yuta's punch like he has the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Yuta's trying to strike a conversation with her and trying to understand why she's even doing all this. You're really strong, you can claim all the points in the world, so why are you even doing this? And Uru's just kind of irritated by him, and she just doesn't really like his vibe. So much so that he kind of resembles the Fujiwara and gets a little upset. Yuta's getting choked out through walls and through the sky, and I personally wouldn't mind getting choked out by Uru. As they're flying through the sky, Ishigori then inserts himself into the conversation with his granite blast and blasts them away. Yuta has come to the conclusion that he can't allow Ishigori to continue to blast away. It will probably cause a lot of collateral damage. And then on Uru's side of things, she has realized that, hey, now that my counters are gone with Druve and Kuroshi, I can go after Ryu now. So I'll take both of them on. Really quickly, I'm going to talk about why Sendai Colony was in a stalemate for so long. And one of the reasons was because of the techniques and the powers that varied between each of these sorcerers. For Druve, he completely countered Uru and a little bit of Kuroshi. Now the reason why he countered Uru was because of his technique being kind of like Tron-esque, where wherever his Shikigami's path is, it creates like this invisible barrier where if you cross it, you get cut. And so for someone like Uru who relies on a lot of information and space and all that stuff, and you kind of restrict her to that, and the same thing applies for Kuroshi, where he can kind of just overwhelm her with his cockroaches and just have millions of cockroaches on the top of her head. So you need a technique that isn't really tangible to where she can actually manipulate the space with it, or you can just overwhelm her so much so that she just can't really manipulate all of it at once. But Uru can counter Ishigori because his technique is much more easier to deal with and it's simpler. It's just him blasting beams at you. But that simplicity can be just as good though, because he can counter someone like Druve, where he uses his Shikigami to keep a distance, but Ishigori doesn't have to get close. So they all counter each other in some way, and also if one of the counters got taken out like Druve, it meant that someone else can go after someone that they countered. So the whole situation was very complex, and Kenjaku was definitely evil as hell for doing this because he knew what he was doing, having all four of these sorcerers in one colony. And in this scene, it looks like Yuta's running in graphics from old PS2 games, and honestly, it's just so fun and so cool. Yuta sneaks up on Ishigori and tells him like, can you not like blow everything up? And Ishigori's whole character trait is just him like, hey, I need to be satisfied, I'm hungry, and I need someone to really satisfy my urges. Ishigori doesn't have much regret in his life, but he does want dessert. He did have the appetizers, the main course, but he needs something to top it all off. He wants to be topped off with some dessert. So Yuta is going to be that dessert for him, and so they start going absolutely crazy and start fighting throughout the city. Yuta's just dodging granite blasts, and Ishigori comes flying in with a punch, and then as they land into this building, he keeps firing more granite blasts at him, and so then Yuta grapples him. And one of the cool things that Yuta does is like when he does grapple him, he uses Ishigori's like beam to push both of them down and to like use it against him. Yuta then grabs a pole to then use it against Ishigori, but then gets instantly shot in his hand, and so then he has to do like this SUKUNA backflip across the wall, and then he heals his hand with RCT, but then Ishigori just still continues to press him, and so then Ishigori goes into this tunnel and then kind of lures him in, and Yuta knows what's up, but he still goes in anyway. Now Ishigori is just shooting and shooting and shooting like a madman. Yuta then punches Granite Blast directly, and he's in base doing all of this, but he gets flown into the sky, and then of course Uru is there to catch him and uses Thin Icebreaker. Ishigori is not too happy about that at all, that Uru has kind of intervened as well, and so he shoots a Granite Blast at her, and like I said earlier, she kind of just counters that. Now the situation just gets worse because Yuta keeps using RCT, and RCT burns Cursed Energy like hell, and so now we're finally seeing the bottom of his Cursed Energy reserves, and so it kind of gets to that point where Yuta's like, you know what, I'm done. Now when Yuta calls upon Rika, he can only fully manifest her for 5 minutes, and the things that she grants are 1, his Cursed Technique, 2, the fully manifestation of Rika, and 3, all the Cursed Energy reserves that Rika can supply to him. Oh, and like she can hold on to Cursed Tools as well, and like other little things that Yuta just be finding and harboring. One more thing, this version of Rika is a completely different version than the one that we saw in JJK0. If anything, this is a weaker version of the original Rika curse, and I think it's because of the byproduct of Yuta's Curse Technique where he can copy things, and so this is just a copy of Rika. And also I think it's a gift from the original Rika curse. I think Rika, as she was passing on, she gave this version of Rika to Yuta to have. Now the difference between the two is that the original Rika curse could copy things unconditionally, broken, and didn't have a time limit of 5 minutes either. So this version of Rika that Yuta has now has that time limit and has to have conditions to copy other techniques. Yuta pulls out Winter Soldier's arm and then uses cursed speech on Uru, and then in classic JJK fashion, they start jumping her. But this whole fight isn't just a normal JJK jumping. This is a special type of jumping. This is a three-way jumping, a whole free-for-all, a true free-for-all if I do say so myself. And that's why Sendai Colony is the peak of shonen fights, because you get to sit here and watch these characters go all out and not actually like take a break. They're going at each other's throats non-stop, because usually in free-for-all fights, a character takes a break and the other two fight, and then one takes a break and then the other two continue fighting. It's not really a free-for-all. But here, if I was fighting in this situation, I would genuinely help Yuta jump Uru, and then if Uru got back up and started jumping Yuta, I would help her. And then while those two are fighting, guess what? I'm sneaking both of them, and that's what makes this fight so much fun. And look at Uru, bro. She just grabbed onto the ground and just started creating waves. And I know that the animators had a lot of fun with Uru, knowing that her ability is to just manipulate space, so they can kind of just do whatever the hell they want with the animation. Then Ishigori creates like this sumo circle where he uses it as a battle arena for him and Yuta to fight in. And while that's going on, Uru's fighting Rika by herself and just keeps manipulating space, and it's just too much going on. Uru comes in with Thin Icebreaker and displaces everybody, so now everybody has kind of swapped places. So now Uru is fighting Yuta and Ishigori is now fighting Rika. Uru sees that Yuta's about to use Curse Speech, but he actually ends up pump faking her and actually uses Drew's technique. Uru finds out that Yuta's technique is copy, and Yuta in the process of doing all of this is talking to her like, hey, you fighting on your own, doing all this, you're gonna reach your limit. And then she rebuttals with, no. Ishigori then crashes in and tells everybody to shut up. And I want y'all to get hype, because while he's banging on his chest, we're about to see the best manga panel in the entire series. We're about to see the best scene in the entire series. I really want y'all to get ready for this. When I tell you, when I saw this episode for the first time, I rewinded that moment at least 20 times. Like the music, the way that the moment flowed into the manga panel, like I don't know how Goso and everybody thought of this. My brain, it hurts, but in a good way. Like it's so good. This is why I love JJK. Like moments like this, like Gege, everybody, just I'm about to bust. And in this moment, we also get something that even manga readers have never seen before, and that is the fact that we get to see Ishigori's and Uru's domain expansions. And they didn't have to do that, but they did it anyway because they love us. They chose us. But unfortunately, we don't get to see the domain expansion play out because someone that wasn't invited decided to insert himself into the conversation for no reason. This damn cockroach. And I agree with what this narrator said about this guy, about him being the black devil of the modern age, because they always seem to find a way to ruin everything. After the domain expansion broke, it means only one thing, that all of their cursed techniques are burnt out. And the first one to fall victim to that is Uru, and then Kurushi just kind of gets dipped again. Now that just leaves two people sitting at this table, and that is Ishigori and Yuta. Now Yuta knew that Ishigori had a stronger curse energy output, so he was going to charge up his beam right before Ishigori's, but he changed his mind because he saw the eyes of a man that has been hungry for over 400 years. The same eyes that your friend gives you when he's broke and he asks you for food, and you end up just being like, you know what, just this once. And as the beam struggle commences, we then hear the opening start to play in the background, and I love this trope. It is one of my favorite tropes in all of anime, and I'm glad that they brought this back. It warmed my heart. Yuta tries to close the distance, and little does Ishigori know that Yuta's curse technique is already back, and he uses Uru's technique. And so Ishigori is confused as to how he got it. He then figures out that he does have the ability to copy, but he must have a condition to it. But he remembers that Rika ate Uru's arm, and that's how he got the technique in the first place. Yuta then uses Thin Icebreaker, and then Rika comes in and slams down on top of his head. Don't know how he's still alive, but then as that happens, the 5-minute time limit is up, and then Ryu knows what time it is, and so then they just start squabbling, just straight hands. And I love that about JJK, because when it comes down to it, there is no random power-ups, there is nothing. Once you're out of curse energy, it is just straight hands. Yuta then grabs onto Ishigori, and Ishigori is caught off guard by it, but then the same beam that Ishigori blasted back at Yuta has come back down to hit him on the top of his head, and Ishigori is like, damn, I really got cooked, but I'm full now. You really taught me off, Yuta. Ishigori is alive, and he's kind of wondering like why Yuta didn't kill him, and Yuta's just like, bro, I don't really care about all that. I'm just here to get the points and to just move on. But that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about the mindset of these sorcerers, because Yuta is a more modern sorcerer, and he doesn't really fight to fight. He just does it because he just wants to protect the people that he loves. And for someone like Uru, who was in the Heian era, the same era that Sukuna was in, the only thing that they care about is being strong. And the only way for you to do that is to be alone and to be isolated. And you look at someone like Ishigori, who was kind of in the middle of Yuta and Uru, who kind of valued the fighting, but also had things that he did care about. And that's one of the main things that Uru was warning Yuta about him reaching his limit, because she's seen the people that have become the strongest in her era, people like Sukuna, where they threw everything away just for their own goals and living for themselves. And as she's talking about all that stuff, we then get a glimpse of everybody else doing their own little thing throughout the Cooling Games. And that's it. That is the end of season 3. And honestly, Goso and everybody else that worked on this show, y'all put crack in this, and I'm glad that I got to take some of this crack, because I'm addicted and I will come back for more and more and more and more. Even though Goso isn't gonna be in next season as the director, I know that the next person that's gonna take up that mantle will do it justice the same way that Goso did, because honestly, this is just what an adaptation is meant to be. And it kind of makes it funny every time that I look at something like Invincible, where there's just not a lot of creative flair sometimes, and all the creative flair that we get from this season alone, honestly, I'm just grateful for it and just happy. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I'm going to be working on other stuff as well, I promise. I've just been busy with a lot of other things going on, so be patient with me. I got y'all.